So IELTS part 3 questions, I'm going to just kind of separate these out a little bit and we're going to get into them. Now, we did part 2 last class. So this class, we're focusing on part 3 questions. Part 3 technically is the most challenging part of the IELTS speaking interview because it's specific and they're detailed questions that apply to most humans. So the planning part in part 2 is very important. And when you start to go into part 3, so you're going through part 2, you're getting into part 3, you need to really focus your mind on the topic of part 2. So here we're talking about nature. Before I go too deep into the lesson, let me ask you this question. When somebody brings up the topic of nature, what comes to mind? So what kind of terms, what kind of ideas? Just put them into the chat. Yeah, we'll do speaking on Discord, Andrew. Yeah, it's fun. We've done it lots in the past too. Harjot says trees. Good. Romelia says protect the environment. Protect or save the environment. Yeah, and as I said, I think that's a really good thought to go into 2023. Nawaf says the jungle. Absolutely. Cool Sommer says greenery. Birds. Animals. Sure. Flora. Fauna. If you're seeing any new vocabulary, make sure to write it down. Sarkisha says panoramic view. We don't need panoramic view. We just need panorama. Okay, try to be concise with your language. Yeah, natural features like mountains, waterfall, living in harmony with nature, right? Okay, great. So you're getting lots of ideas. I love it. So we've got lots of people in the chat. We've got lots of people thinking now. Fantastic. So we can get into a bit of IELTS speaking part 3. Now, when you're doing speaking, what you want to think about, okay, you want to keep your thinking broad. And what you want to do is you want to focus, and you want to focus on giving an answer. Definition of nature is all plants, animals, and natural features found on the surface of Earth, including humans, insects, forests, mountains, and oceans, as these are all part of the great biosphere which make life possible. Without the algae or without humans, this would all greatly change. Okay, so notice a couple of interesting points here too. I don't say and so on. Okay, Band 8, Band 9 are all about good communication. So I don't say and so on, and I don't say for example. I just give it. Why don't I say and so on? What do you think? All right, while you tell me that answer, I'm going to look at some of your responses in the chat. So Harjot, let's take a look at what you've written. Okay, this is Harjot here. We'll take a look at what Shaknaz has written as well. Let's take a look at what Domenico has written as well. Okay. All right, so why is it not a good idea to say and so on? Think about that for a second while I'm showing you this. Okay. Yeah, Chinese says it's confusing. They don't know the information. Yeah, exactly. You need to be specific and confident. Yeah, and professors will tell you this as well in your writing. Don't write things like etc. or and so on. It has no value. It's like why are you telling me that? I can think about the and so on without you telling me the and so on, right? So on could be anything, exactly. Prerna, not pre. I keep thinking it's prima, but I can say it's Prerna, Malhotra. Yeah, it's not specific. It's just, it's vague. It's weak, right? Okay, so here we go. Harjot says, I think nature is a most beautiful creation of God where everyone is really, where everybody relies on each other, okay? Harjot, that's one sentence, okay? Nature is small n. So I think nature is the, not it's the, because it's unique if you say that it's the most, right? So the most beautiful creation of God where we're all living creatures. Instead of everyone usually refers to humans, all living creatures. All life is reliant on each other. Okay? It includes many different creatures in its various parts, like humans, sea creatures, sea animals. Let's not repeat creatures. All with their own abilities and contributions. Okay, Harjot, that's better. So I'm correcting it from, like, let's say a band 5 to a band 8. Okay? Harjot, try it. I think nature is the most beautiful creation of God where all life is reliant on each other. It includes many different creatures in its various parts like humans, sea animals, all with their own abilities and contributions. Shaknaz, nature is the essential and ultimate source of our life. With human and other living elements are the children of nature. with humanity, okay, here we want the word humanity, and all other life as the children of nature. Sure, here I might use the word offspring of, and instead of nature, Shaknaz, because you're repeating nature, nature, you don't want to be circular, the definition of Mother Earth. Okay, so that's the way I would do it, Shaknaz. It's a little bit short, so this would be a correction of a band 4 to band 7. So now it's accurate, so we've bumped it to a band 7 with a little bit more specific vocabulary without redundancy. So it's like this. Nature is the essential and ultimate source of life, with humanity and other creatures as offspring of Mother Earth. Yeah, let's correct it further. Okay. Bayu, we don't use a lot of proverbs in our speaking in the sense of using it to get high marks, okay? Everybody who's taking IELTS needs to stop thinking about having to use a lot of proverbs or idioms for high marks, okay? I want you to focus on using good English, right? Domenico says, I suppose the best definition of nature is all that is not impacted by an often recited litany of human-caused disturbances, such as the bustling and beautiful coral reefs, which are described as the birthplace of life itself. Domenico, you're telling me what kind of nature is not. Students, when you're writing and when you're speaking in the IELTS, always approach it from positive argument rather than from the side of it is what it is not, right? Because that is confusing logic, right? So if I say nature is everything besides plastic and man-made manufactured goods, I haven't really described what nature is, okay? So always focus on what something is rather than what it is not. I've seen people do that, for example, in their writing assignments as well, where the question will say, why should people do this? And then instead of saying why somebody should do that, they say, okay, well, they shouldn't do this, they shouldn't do that, so they should do that. And it's kind of like, okay, so you've told me what people shouldn't do, but you haven't really told me why somebody should do that, right? Do you get what I'm saying? An example I often use to make this clear is you have two houses for sale, right? And the purchaser, the buyer, is going, okay, asking the realtor, asking the sellers, well, which house should I buy? And the realtor says, well, you should buy this house because the other house is too expensive. The rooms are quite small, and it has a small backyard. Okay. It's like, okay, so you've told me why I shouldn't buy that house, but you haven't actually told me why I should buy the other house. I can't assume that I should buy the other house because it has large rooms, right? Maybe it also has small rooms, it's just cheaper. So, but maybe it's not. Maybe the realtor just likes the paint on the walls more, right? So always focus on arguing for an idea by supporting it with positive facts, okay? It's an important point. It's an important point. And that can easily lead to better band scores on your writing and your speaking, okay? It's my answer. Again, looking for your answers as well, all right? So why has humanity had such a negative impact on nature in the past several centuries? I'm really paying attention to the question. I'm really paying attention to each detail of the question. And it's a good question, okay? So as I said, going into 2023, this is the question we should be asking, not who's fighting a war where and how is the stock market doing. So good question. I firmly believe that people have created a great deal of destruction and pollution, mainly because of industrialization and overpopulation. Industrialization means creating factories and machines to produce large amounts of goods, okay? The pressure on nature for providing raw materials to make all of the plastic, metal, wood products have decimated forests and oceans. As a result, the world is in peril. Peril means a great deal of trouble, okay? The earth has lost 60% of its forests since the 1600s. All right, so again, answer, explanation, example, okay? Andrew has an answer for us. Let's see what Andrew has. One of our regular newer members who is doing a fantastic job keeping up with his studies. Good. Andrew says, people have been preoccupied with short-term financial gains rather than sustainable future of humanity. Continuing to this day, use of fossil fuels is a great example of that. I believe that the only way to save the day is to restructure society entirely so individuals as well as companies are no longer obsessed with profit.
I'm good, sir. Thank you. How are you, sir?
Hi, Mazad. I'm good. I'm good as well. Thank you for the New Year's wishes, Mazad. That's fantastic.
Yes, sir. Wish you the same to you and your entire family, sir.
Thank you, and to you and your family as well. Mazad, where are you right now?
I'm from India, sir. I'm from India, Mumbai.
Mumbai. So you've got 2 hours to New Year's.
Absolutely.
Are you doing a New Year's party?
Yet I've not decided anything.
Okay. All right. Well, let me tell you, your attitude is fantastic. It's almost New Year's and you're still studying. I feel you have a very successful year ahead of you with that kind of an attitude. So good for you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
All right, Mazad, are you ready for some part 3 questions?
Yes, absolutely. You can ask me, please.
Okay, then let's talk about nature. Why is it important to save the environment?
I think as humans, it is very important because we have only one home, which is our Earth, and we don't have any other planet where we can currently go. So, Earth, as a human nature, we need to save this planet for us, and not just for us, but for also for our future generations.
What can happen if humanity does not take care of its natural surroundings?
If, of course, if humanity won't take care, then of course we will have to face the consequences in the future. And not just us, but also our generation will also have to face the consequences. For example, we all are seeing that global warming is on the rise, and even the increasing levels of sea are also rising. So maybe most of the cities in the near future will submerge also in the ocean. So of course, it's very important to take care of the environment from my point of view.
How much time do you think people have before it's too late to save nature?
I think it might be a decade or so to save the nature, because already we have seen what's happening around the world. We have been gone through various natural calamities and disasters, the tsunami and the wars which are going on currently. So I don't think there's much time left. But if the humanity can act as soon as possible, it might be possible for us that we can save our planet Earth. So it's a very beautiful home, and we need to take care of it.
Okay, I'm going to stop there. I think you've done a fantastic job. That was really good. That was really good. That would be a band 8 to 8.5. Okay, if you keep
Thank
talking
you.
like that, I would probably give you an 8.5. So you're almost at. There's a couple of very small, slight oddities that are kind of unnatural. A little bit of redundancy and repetition. Um,
Okay.
Maybe a slight kind of off content part with the wars. For example, tsunamis was a good one, but I'm not sure if the war is a result of the destruction of nature. So, but overall, very, very good. Very good use of vocabulary. Very natural.
Thank you.
Um,
Thank you, sir.
a very effective form of communication
Mhm.
here. So
Thank
I said, why is it important to save the environment? And you said, I think as humans, it is very important because we only have one home. Now,
you.
this is, and we can say this is almost cliche. Do you know what that means, cliche? It's a French word.
No, sir, I don't know.
Sarah and Dewey might know what this means, cliche. Cliche looks like this, the word cliche. I
Okay.
definitely recommend looking that up or Googling it for everybody when you have a moment. Cliche is something that is kind of overused, too common,
Mm.
the most frequent answer. A good example of cliche is like when people meet with each other and then they're like, how's the weather? It's like,
Okay.
it's so cliche. It's like everybody asks you, how's the weather when you meet? Or what's your hobby? It's so cliche, right? I like reading books. It's so cliche.
Mm.
So one of the most cliche answers to the question of why is it important to save the environment is, well, we only have one home. It's the earth, right? But you know what? Being cliche on the IELTS when you're doing it well with good vocabulary is actually very smart strategy. Okay. So,
Yeah.
and I'm not saying use templates. Okay. Templates and cliches are not the same. Okay. So this is not the same as a template. It's
Mm.
very important to understand that
Mm.
because a lot of people learn templates for the IELTS. Like they'll say something like, that's a very good question. Thank you for asking me. Well, it depends. Okay, that's a template. That's not cliche. That just means somebody memorized the sentence online from a video and they're trying to use it in their exam. Those templates get low marks. But good cliches will get you high marks because they're clear, they're easy to understand. We only have
Right.
one home, which is Mother Earth. It's very cliche, but it's very true and it's very good English. Okay. And then you said we don't have another planet. Now, here, if I'm really going for that band 9 and I'm doing quick visual thinking, I would even reference what a lot of people have as a false hope, right? Like some people have this, I think, insane hope that somehow we're going to move to the moon or Mars if we destroy Earth, which, let's be honest with each other, it's just crazy, right? I mean, the moon doesn't have an atmosphere. Mars doesn't have an atmosphere, right? So
Right.
it's a long ways before it's, I still think it's much easier to save planet Earth than it is to inhabit Mars or the moon, right?
Right,
So,
sir.
and we don't have so you could say here, and we don't have another planet. Moving to Mars or the moon is just crazy.
Right.
Or the
I
moon.
can mention the name of the planets, and that can be a
Yeah.
good example.
And that gives you good points, absolutely. So moving to Mars or the moon, as some people think, is just crazy. Okay.
Right.
And then you said, and we also need to save it for future generations. That's fine. That's great. Okay. So
Absolutely.
starting cliche. Okay. This is a good advice for everybody for the IELTS. Thinking about cliche concepts is a very good idea. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Then I asked you, how much time do you think people have before it is too late to save nature? And you said, I think it might be a decade or so because we are already seeing what's happening, like the calamities. I love that word, calamities. Yeah. Calamities, it's a very nice piece of vocabulary. It means like the big unintentional negative outcomes of a situation is a calamity. Okay. Calamities like tsunamis, earthquakes, droughts, floods, right? Droughts and floods are a good one here.
Yeah.
Because
Natural
that's
disasters also.
yeah. So natural disasters, droughts and floods, especially droughts. By the way, this is vocabulary for everybody. Droughts. Do you know what droughts means?
Yeah, dryness. There is no rain or something. Dryness.
Exactly. It's when a place starts to become a desert. Yeah. And floods is
Right.
the opposite, right? Where there's too much water.
Right. Too
So
much of water.
yeah. So natural disasters. Yeah. Okay, droughts and floods. So make sure that the information